We're going to get attacked by the birds here. Remember the movie, The Birds? Well, we've got the corollas here. They're coming in. Oh, here we go. We had a batch earlier, and here comes another swarm, or a flock. That's not a flock, that's a swarm. I'm telling you, there's a lot of birds up there. And thank God they don't know what an apple or a pear or a peach is. But we're talking apricots at the moment because I've had a few emails come through after yesterday's video on pruning peach and nectarine trees. So I thought I'd come out and show you this one here in particular, because we've got another one near the advanced, well, where the peach is, apricot that is. Now that there is a Japanese apricot variety, so it's more of an ornamental and it grows completely different to what you get as a traditional variety that you get from your garden centres. Now apricots don't fruit on triple buds. They have what we call little spurs that actually grow out the sides as well, just like this one here. So here's an example of where fruit can develop this coming springtime. Now here you'll see it's like a short little stub, if you like, almost like a stunted branch, but it has multiple buds on it. There are lots of little buds. Most of them will be flowers. You'll get some leaf coming out as well, but that's predominantly where you get your well, that's where you get your fruit from. So when you're pruning an apricot tree, this is what you look out for. So this one above here, again, I should say it should be on second year growth, by the way. So it's not the first year's growth, or well, new growth, new season's growth. It'll be last year's growth and onwards. Now that there is what we're seeing as a new branch coming on. Now there are a lot of buds there, again, nice and close. And that's typical of forming fruit there for you, because you've got multiples going on. And in fact, we have got some triples here. There we are. We've got a double there, doubles there. We've got a triple bud here as well. So there you go, folks. You get doubles and triples. I call these, and it's not the correct term, I suppose, but I like to call them cluster buds, because there's a lot of buds sort of in a cluster together. Now let's go to this one over here. Have a look at this. That's a perfect example of where your fruit will come from. So that's your fruiting areas. What's developing on the sides, like little short spurs or short branches. And as we come over to this branch here, we've got a couple of short spurs as well. Well, the little ones here where you're going to get your fruit from, and there's another one here. Now, I didn't cut these back. I was just asked by my cameraman, did I cut these back? No. That's how it's grown, and that's as long as it's grown, and that's from last spring, basically. And that's another one here, there, if I'm not interfering with your filming. And you'll see there's some there going on as well. Now, along the rest of this branch here, there's nothing, but we've got more spurs, if you like, and there's a chance we've got lots of flowers to come out here, and there's a high possibility it'll set fruit. Pretty much self-fertile these plants are, but look at that. There you go. That's what you want to see. That's pretty good. Now, even there, it's quite clustered. As you can tell, it's nice and tight. And that's pretty much the last year's branches. So from last spring, we had all this new growth come on. I've already taken the top off. I'm not going to do any pruning now, because the best time to prune your apricot trees when they're still active, so there's sap flowing through them, because they do get riddled with gomosas. And if I look carefully down here, this is what I'm talking about. There's a little bit of stress, and that's basically the sap oozing out of the tree. Unfortunately, I can't do much about that right now. Now, there's a big one on this side. Wow, here we go. Maybe I should visit the orchard more often. So that there you can clean and paint it over with hydrated lime as a protection, and I've got to probably get a bit more compost around this and a little bit of black grit. The tree should be well. Now this tree has produced prolifically for me the last 2 or 3 years. Even though it's a young tree, it's about 4 years of age, just over, maybe 5. We've been getting a lot of fruit, and you can see where it's coming from. It's all these little branches now. Along here, along there, even something along here, because we've got a little one forming there. And remember, it's still only the beginning of winter, so a lot of the swelling in the bud hasn't really kicked into gear yet. So we're as we're going to get closer to August and, you know, springtime, we should get a lot more swelling, and obviously this will flower way before spring, I reckon. Providing the weather doesn't knock it about, but I think it'll be fine. Sorry folks, she's insisting on me patting her. She's just pushing her way in. She's going, the cameras are rolling, and this is normally what we do before we start filming. All right, go away. Now back to the topic of where it's going to fruit. We spoke about these little spurs, basically like that. They're completely different to what you get on an apple and pear tree as far as the shape of it, you know, the amount of flowers you get on it. They're short, there will be clusters on it. That's not a really strong one, and this branch here doesn't seem to have a lot of vigor in it. And look here, from the last season, or the last flowering season, these probably were viable back then, but they've actually dried off. There's one here, there's one here, one over there, and one over here. So they're gone, and they've come straight out where the buds are. You know, the nodes are along the branch there. So you'll probably get more to activate as the years go by, depending on the vigor in the tree and the health of each branch, because each part of the root system feeds different parts of the tree. And we've got some here developing. There's one coming along, relatively small. This is not bad, that's coming along better. And we've got another one down here, and there's another one on this side there. So folks, it still does push on. You can see, look at that, little short one, cluster of flowers there, and we'll get all sorts of things. That's dried out. So when it comes to pruning, this is what you've got to look out for. You don't go pruning them off. Definitely prune all this off, get rid of all that stuff there, which we'll do. But these short ones, some people think they're deformed, there's something wrong with it, but in fact that's what you want to see, so you can get your flowers and fruit from there. So as far as an apricot tree's shape is concerned, open vase, open champagne glass type if you like. You can leave a couple of branches in the middle, as I have there. There's one main one going up, you can see that there. It's not interfering because there's a lot of space in between. We've cleared it out pretty well. Now, if I really wanted to, I could take that one out completely so we get a bit more light in the middle. But I'm happy with this tree because it's not a dense, overly dense tree when it comes to the foliage. So we get good flow, airflow and sunlight through it as well. We've got to trim some of these little wispy ones that are stretching out a little bit too much. I'll take those back there and probably cut this back down too as well. The upright is what you want to avoid keeping on the tree, because most fruit, and I forgot to say this yesterday, your fruit predominantly comes of lateral branches that are growing outwards or sort of arching over, rather than from the upright ones. Now you can have a couple of uprights or, you know, angular growth, but it's not off that branch where you're going to see the fruit. It's the spurs that will develop off there. You can see how they've got an angle on them. They're not growing straight up. That's growing straight up. That won't really do anything. It may, well, it's going to flower, but it'll probably just keep growing this coming season. Whereas the one just behind here, see how short and stumpy that is? That's got a better chance of giving us some fruit there in the coming season. So cast your eyes on this properly and see the shape of it. Now I want to show you the other tree. And now have a look at this. This is the apricot I'm telling you about. A much older tree. We've cut the middle out. We've had a bit of borer in it, and just the general growth habits, the way it grows. It's have a look at it. It just grows like spider legs, straight up, all over the place. Come on, look at this. Just the amount of wispy branches that we get bursting out from all these spaces. Now, as an apricot tree, you would say, well, this is a really poor example. Well, probably is. Well, in fact, it is. It was in a worse state when we first acquired it, when we got the property. And I've been working at it slowly, not actively all the time, to clean it up, but stopping this regrowth that we get here, this just really radical growth that branches out. It's more typical of this variety of apricot, being the Japanese. Just doing a little bit of research on it, it's more of an ornamental plant, so don't expect to see fruit off it, which I've been trying to get it to fruit, and I have got it to fruit. It does produce a fruit. It's insignificant by comparison to the other apricots, and a little bit tart in flavour too, so it's not something that I'd plant in the garden if you're looking to grow an apricot tree for food. That's what we do it for, but as an ornamental, well, I'm going to strip this right back, not now, because it's too cold and it's too early for the tree. I'm going to strip this right back and clean out all these branches in between. And in saying that, sorry, I'm just thinking about that. It's too early for the tree. Doing a very late prune in winter or early spring causes a lot of vegetative growth. I can't say it. No, you're going to cut that out. No, you are. Please. Senior moment now. I can't remember what I was talking about now. So let's just go with lots of vigor in it. So we're going to get a lot of new growth on it if I cut it so late in winter. That's what happens with fruit trees. So maybe I should be cutting it late in summer and cleaning it right up after it's had its summer growth, so that I don't get as much vigor back into it. Unlike the apricot, the other one, where you can see all these side shoots aren't so long, and you know, these are all dry now, so all this has to come off like that. Just getting all the dead wood out here, folks. There's a lot to cut off on this tree. That's dead as well. But this is what excites me when I see this happening. It's almost, look at that, it's almost like a cluster of flowers there. Well, it is technically, and we may get something off this, and that's how I got my fruit last time, but it's a little bit, look at it, a little bit flimsy, sort of wispy, like a little whip. It's really no good for us, and that's what I hate about it. If I could only get this tree to come shorter, and I'm going to change the cycle of pruning where I do prune it, and try and do it later in summer, and maybe even, oh, look, the tree is magnificent when it's in full flight with the flowers. And I do remember now that I did cut it last time when it had a lot of flowers on it as well, only because somebody did comment that did I collect all those branches and put them in a vase inside and not let them go to waste. Yes, I did, not all of them. So I'm going to do another pruning spring to clean this up. And this is the stuff here. That's it. No, not even this one. Let's go here, up here. This is it. Let me bring it down here for us. See how we're getting that there now? Getting it to shorten. That's a little bit long, but still you can deal with that. I can live with all this. And that's where we should get some fruit off it, hopefully. But it's not a lot of this going on. There's one up here. After it's grown so many times, it's finally doing that. But hopefully it sets and doesn't stretch out like an antenna, you know, when they expand and becomes a long wispy branch again. So folks, completely different tree. I've got to take out a lot of this stuff, all this dead wood in here. Well, it's not dead wood, but I've got to take this out, even though it's got a lot of growth on the top, but really it's all out of the place. So all that's going to get cleaned out later on. And at the end of the day, if you're looking for an apricot tree, go with the other varieties, the standard varieties you get at your garden centres. This is a gorgeous tree when it comes into flower because it's a crimson red sort of colour. But other than that, you really don't get much production out of it. That's me apricots, folks. So if you've got any more questions about that, please feel free to share it in the comments below or whatever platform you're on, and I'll see if I can answer them for you. Otherwise, don't forget our Queensland show we're going to. We've got WA coming up. We've got the Gardeners Day out and all the outlets at the end of the day. Look after them because they'll look after you. And it's all at Vasili'sGarden.com. From me, Vasili, Maresi.